Welcome back to another episode of Indie Hunter. I'm your boy Vicedets, and today we're not only hunting indie games, we're hunting mystical artifacts from an ancient civilization. I'm doing my part as a white man, and looting an ancient temple and selling artifacts to museums. I mean, liberating historic relics and returning them to the society of the people they belong to. I actually have a little bit of history with relic reclamation. Back in 2020, I went on holiday to the Middle East. I met a man named Walid who told me that he and his friends were actually in that same business. I spent a month with them, going through Syria, helping Walid and his friends dig up old artifacts from Syrian history. I wonder how he's doing.
This morning, ISIS claims to have destroyed priceless pieces of history. A video posted yesterday shows people taking power tools and sledgehammers to irreplaceable statues and artifacts in Iraq.
Uh-oh. Turns out, Walid was with ISIS the entire time. Now, mistakes happen, but if you're a quick learner, they only happen once. That's why I have vowed to keep all of these ancient Aztec Mayan relics for myself, to protect them from ISIS. So I'm sure this is something we can all relate to. Here you are, minding your own business, elbows deep in this ancient Aztec temple, guarded by 3 color-coded gods of the elements, and next thing you know, you're cursed to live an infinite life of pain, death, and torment, and the only way to break the curse is to ascend to the top of the temple and kill the gods with a rusty sword and a dull pistol. I said that wrong. Now fuck it, I'm gonna leave that in there. Here's the good news. If you're doomed to die and be reborn, that means you've got all the time in the world to succeed. Time to live, die, repeat. Time to get good. When I first played Curse of the Dead Gods, it looked to me like it was a Hades clone. Great game, go play it. But this game isn't a Hades clone. In fact, I'd say this game is closer to Dark Souls in its combat than it is to Hades. That's right, I said it. Curse of the Dead Gods is the Dark Souls of Hades-likes. Or maybe it's the Hades of Dark Souls-likes. Regardless, I thought this was a cheap imitation of something, and I was wrong. I think my mistake was that at first glance, it does look like Hades. You fight a bunch of enemies and go room to room, killing more enemies along the way, and the gods are there indirectly helping and or messing with you. I also saw the Dark Souls influence in the combat, with the emphasis on blocking and dodging at the right time, and regardless of what Twitter says, the importance of pattern recognition. These are all surface-deep observations. There are so many more mechanics and layers to the game to make it its own thing, and I want to talk about it, and I'm going to make it your problem. The first thing to really talk about is the corruption and the curse system. It's important to know the game will never miss an opportunity to punish you for playing it. There's a bar at the bottom of your screen called corruption, and no, it's not the fun kind. It's the kind that fills up when taking damage from enemies, sacrificing blood at the altar for free loot, or opening unlocked doors. You know, that really heavy moral stuff. Every little action that increases your corruption does so by a fixed amount, and when that corruption level reaches 100, you get a curse. Now, curses are these fun little game changers that exist to punish you for as long as you have them. They're unavoidable, and the only way to remove them is to kill the gods' besties. To explain what sort of awful they are and how they work, allow me to use this analogy. Think about those games they play on Twitter and 4chan, not that I've ever used either, where someone says a superpower and someone else has to come up with a downside. For example, let's say the superpower is you never lose your car keys. Unfortunately, this comes with the downside of having to fight a 6-year-old every time you want to go for a drive. Now, fighting a 6-year-old isn't hard. After all, they're 6-year-olds. But after a few days, you start getting a little bored of it and you lose the thrill and the fatigue settles in, and you do the math. If you work a 5-day work week, assuming you will use your car to go back and forth from work, that's 10 6-year-olds you have to fight a week. That's not counting going out with drinks with friends, grocery shopping, and the occasional time you drive halfway to work and have to turn back around because you left your wallet at home. It's not the moral weight of what you have to do or the quick thinking required for excuses when you get caught beating children that don't belong to you. It's the act itself of fighting the 6-year-old that becomes burdensome. You can do it every day, but you're tired and you hate it. And you're starting to wonder if it would have been far simpler just to learn to put your keys on the nightstand every night before you go to bed. So, admittedly, this analogy was really long, and I could have just summarized and said, it gives you a minor inconvenience and a minor benefit. In the grand scheme of all curses, it mostly just changes the game to be a little more annoying, but one curse on its own isn't enough to complain about. One single curse on its own is a pain, but it's manageable. For example, here are 2 curses that will end most runs and hamper the ones you actually survive. One curse has you pay 300 gold every time you open a door and go to a new room, and if you fail to pay the entire amount, the remainder is taken out of your life as damage. But on the positive side, if you pay a full price, it heals you for 10% of your max HP. That's pretty rad, right? Curse 2. Every time you take damage, you lose an amount of gold equal to the damage you take. But on the plus side, you find more gold laying around on the ground. Now, Individually, those are both manageable, but together they're completely awful. To use an analogy, imagine you're a 6-year-old. Imagine you're a 6-year-old and your school bully beats you up and steals your lunch money. This is devastating, as earlier you found a $20 bill on the ground. Now, penniless, you go through the day, return home to your mother, who demands $20 to come inside, and then beats you up for being a broke-ass bitch. Of course, the gods aren't merciless. If you show them a little love, they'll show you a little love. You can carry 6 relics and 3 weapons, a main, secondary, and a 2-handed weapon. If you ever find yourself in possession of a newly dropped item you don't want, you can offer it to the gods for a small boon instead of taking it for yourself. But if you do take it for yourself, you can't offer the old equipment to the gods. After all, your filthy mortal hands have stained it. Progression in Curse of the Dead Gods takes the form of collecting the skulls of your enemies and jade rings, and turning them in for sweet loot back at home base. This is the kind of game where if you're good enough, you don't really need to unlock new toys, but they're nice, and it's fun. New weapons have different passive effects like critical damage under certain circumstances, or elemental damage. And that's all well and good, but it's kind of similar to the rarity of a gun in a battle royale. The numbers are higher, yes, but the difference is negligible, as long as you already know how to play. I will, however, make this note. The silver stars are my favorite weapon. I think all weapons are nice and fine in their own ways, and honestly kind of utterly forgettable, but the silver stars throw out stars to every single enemy nearby when you land a perfect dodge, and buddy, I know how to dodge. There's no joke here, I just really love the silver stars and want to highlight them. That's my boy. Normally I would stretch out a review by talking about the story of a game and explain in detail, enough to completely spoil it for the audience. Fortunately for you, there is no story to spoil. The entire summation of the game's narrative is that an angry cursed explorer wants to kill the gods, and even then, I'm taking liberties. This is all assumed because if gods ever exist in a video game, I want to kill them to assert dominance over false religions and prove my devotion to my Lord and Savior Jack Black. Anyways, I think this covers all of my bases. I got the game for free on PlayStation Plus, a service I pay $60 a year to in order to play Fortnite with a controller. If you have PlayStation Plus, get this game, give it a try. If you don't have PlayStation Plus, I get it.